I'm Timothy Vigil, and this is Just Another Word Podcast, the Word of the Day podcast for storytellers. K is for Kismet. It is a mistake to think that fortune forgoes some and favors others. Fortune is Kismet. As writers, we often treat coincidence like a dirty thing. We're told that if a character is saved by a random stroke of luck, the reader, the listener, the viewer will feel cheated. But I want to argue that Kismet can be a friend to a storyteller, a tool we can become intimately acquainted with, provided we know how to respect its boundaries. The word Kismet entered the English language in the early 1800s. It was borrowed from the Turkish word of the same name, which in turn came from the Arabic kisma, meaning portion or lot. And this is the key to understanding the word Kismet and how it can be so important, and what differentiates it from luck or fate or fortune, and understanding how all of these things can be shaped to be used as great tools in our writing. See, Kismet isn't just luck or fate. It's a specific portion of fortune or luck assigned to a person. We all experience our own portion of fortune, and so does every character. It is not that one character is constantly lucky and no other is. See, we need to remember that as storytellers, the reason we're telling a story about the characters we're telling them about is because they survived something other people wouldn't, or because their circumstances were unusual. It is, in part, their luck, their fortune, that makes them interesting. These characters are the ones who caught the portion of the universe that allowed them to survive, that allowed them to continue, that got them through an unusual circumstance. See, if you're a fan of The Wheel of Time, as I am, you'll have seen Kismet in its most extreme possible form. The characters Rand al'Thor, Matrim Cauthon, and Perrin Ibarra are a thing that Robert Jordan termed ta'virin. They are the central points around which the wheel of the world weaves its pattern. Matt Cauthon in particular has legendary, almost ridiculous luck, winning game after game after game of dice, never losing unless he wants to, using that in battle to survive and win these incredible feats. He survives more improbable situations than any character has the right to. But it works in The Wheel of Time because Robert Jordan acknowledges that this is incredibly improbable. He tells the reader the world is literally weaving itself around these boys. It is literally bending to them. Fate for the entire world is tied to their success. See, if your character has a similar place in the world, if your character has extreme luck, but that is because the fate of the world is on their shoulders, and the world is aware of this and is doing things to make it work for them, let the reader know. If the reader knows that the world is bending to your character, they will accept improbable things. But if you don't establish that portion of fate early, your readers will only accept a certain amount of luck before they start calling it plot armor, a term that you never want associated with your characters, and saying your story is ridiculous. It is about setting people's expectation of what luck is acceptable, and if you don't, then we have to understand that we can only use a certain portion. I think most stories don't benefit from the Taviran principle. Some do. The Wheel of Time certainly does, and it's built into the entire world. Taviran is a known thing in this place. Other people know what it is and accept that they exist. But your world doesn't have that. Or if you're writing a story in the real world or telling a story about the real world, that doesn't happen. So we have to understand how to manage the portion. Kismet is a valuable word for us because it serves as a warning. It reminds us every character has this portion of luck, this much luck. And if we go beyond that portion, the reader will eventually get fed up. Acknowledgement is key. If your hero survives a 50-foot fall or finds a key in the mud just when they need it, we have to acknowledge the improbability, or we need to understand how. Let the character be as surprised as the reader if they survive that fall. This turns a convenience into Kismet, into fate. If a magic carpet swoops down and saves them right before they die, how did that happen? Why did that happen? If you just move on and never explain it, people are just going to go, he just didn't want them to die and couldn't think of anything else. You have to earn the luck. See, Kismet feels best when it happens because of who the person has become. Not just because their survival is necessary for your story to continue, or even for the world's survival. Just keeping them alive because you need to keep them alive isn't as good as keeping them alive because something they did prior. Say that same magic carpet flies down and saves them at the last minute, but earlier in the story you showed that character saving the magic carpet, or maybe it was a dragon that flew in and saved the person, and you saw that person 2 chapters ago stop this dragon from being attacked, or 2 books ago this small baby dragon was saved and was waiting. You have to think of Kismet like a resource. You can spend it to get your character into trouble as much as you want. Bad luck in a story is generally going to be considered good storytelling by most people. But if you're going to use it to get them out of trouble, well, that costs you double the amount of bad luck you gave them. See, because if you just overfeed your characters, if you overfeed your readers with lucky coincidences, the characters are constantly getting out of tight spot after tight spot after tight spot. Your characters are going to seem unreal, and your characters are eventually going to lose the sense of danger. Once there are no consequences for a character's actions, why do I care about reading about this character? And eventually, they're going to be overfed, because the portion of luck was too big. See, Kismet is the reminder that no character's survival is an accident. It's the reason we're reading about them, and not the person who didn't survive. But you have to remember that every character only gets a portion. You have to use their portion of luck to highlight this is why they're worth telling a story about. This was their destiny, their fate, whatever you want to call it, but never use it to replace their effort. A character should mostly survive because they are trying, because they are succeeding, because they are learning, because they are growing, not just because the universe wants them to. Even in the Wheel of Time, where these characters have incredible luck, it is truly because of their growth as humans that they survive and that they win in the end. The Taviran nature of them still only could take them so far. Eventually, they had to win it. They had to be the ones making the choices. And you need to do this for your characters as well. You have to respect the lot your character's been given, and your readers will follow them to the end of the story. Ultimately, we just have to remember that every person and every character has luck, has fortune. And it's important that we put that in there because we need to show that this character is different, that they did survive for some reason. If they never have any good luck, it's going to feel like we're picking on them as characters, and we don't want that either. We need them to have some good luck. Some things go their way. We just have to make sure that it doesn't feel like plot armor, that it doesn't feel like we are ignoring the possibility of consequences, and we accept that these people can die, can fail, can lose. In the end, your character is going to feel so much more real if they only have a small portion of luck and not the whole pie. You have been listening to Just Another Word podcast with your host, Timothy Vigil. For more information, go to timothyvigil.com.